Let's build something a wee bit smaller. Hello, welcome back to the shop and the channel. Yeah, it's still here. It's still in the shop. Hopefully by the time this video drops, that'll be upstairs in the bedroom where it belongs. But right now it's still here. I'm going to be doing a small project this time. It's going to be a colonial pipe box, similar to this one right here I'm showing you. About that size, maybe a little bit bigger. But this is I showed these earlier in a video. I built 3 of these. I sold 2 of them to friends for low money. And this is a Lonnie Bird design. Lonnie Bird is a contributor, or was a contributor to Fine Woodworking. This is his design. It's much bigger than a pipe box normally would be. Now, what is a pipe box? A pipe box hangs on the wall of your parlor or in a tavern. The long clay pipes that our ancestors used to use would be inside here, and the tobacco would be in the drawer. You walk into the tavern or the parlor, grab a pipe, put some tobacco in it, go light it up and smoke it, talk with your buddies, tamp it out, put the pipe back in here when you leave. This is made of tiger maple that I found at Home Depot. More on that later. Funny thing is, when looking for pipe boxes like the picture I showed you to get work around the form that I wanted to do for this one, I found like 3 or 4 sites selling this Lonnie Bird, exact copies of the Lonnie Bird design. One Etsy store sells them for like $360. Found them on eBay, a couple other places. The exact same thing, no different. So, Mara is going to be in on this project too a bit. She's going to be building some wall pockets. Well, what are wall pockets? Like the name implies, it's a box you hang on the wall where you can put stuff. Our ancestors didn't have a lot of storage space. It's just a house with walls. These are wall pockets. These are made by a good friend of ours, Jay Olay and his wife, and he sells them online. He sells them at Fort Frederick Market Fair because he sets up there every year. If you're ever interested in buying some 18th century colonial type stuff, here's a link. There's a link in the description to his Facebook page where you can see all the kind of things that he makes. But these are his designs. So she's going to build some of those, probably out of the scrap wood that we have. Now, as to the wood, little bit more about buying wood from the big box stores. This is a nondescript, unknown white pineish wood. This is 3 feet long, 6 inches wide, 1/2 inch thick, very nicely machined. This is $5.95 a piece. For small projects, that's fine. We used to buy the 1/2 inch poplar at Home Depot and at Lowe's, and that's now $20 a sheet for one that's only 1 foot longer than this, but the same dimensions. So much cheaper than the poplar. So I'm going to build them out of that. Now, as to the Home Depot, as to the tiger maple, I got that at Home Depot. And if your Home Depot sells maple, I strongly recommend you go and pick through the pile of maple because you'll find this stuff. Now, depending on what you buy, it's either more expensive or less expensive than what you'd get at a mill. So check the mill prices if you have mills near you for tiger maple, and then check Home Depot. They sell it by the linear foot, so figure out what the board foot is. We found that some of the pieces we wanted to buy couldn't beat our local mill, where others could. Anyhow, so with all that said, let's get down to designing this thing and milling out some lumber and getting it together. Forgot to mention that this pipe box is a donation or gift for a local historical site that shall remain nameless for now until such time as this video may drop after I give it to them, but just in case. So we'll just leave it at that. It's going to be about 15 inches tall. I say about because we're working out dimensions. 15 inches tall, about 4 inches deep, about 4 to 5 inches wide. 4 inches wide. We'll go 4 inches wide. So the first thing I want to do is cut the back, cut the sides, and the front to length, and then rip them the widths that I want. So let's get some cutting done on the time lapse. Okay, so those are the rough parts. Have the front, the back, and the two sides. And there's going to be a shelf built into it, inside of it, so the pipes don't go all the way down into the drawer. And the front is short, so we can put the drawer in here. So I got to rip these to the widths that I want. I'm going to run through the planer first to make sure I get the jointer to make sure everything's fine. Extra pair of piece of wood. Forgot to mention that the one I kept, one of the other ones, the Lonnie Bird ones I kept, is hanging in the kitchen. So let's do some ripping. I'll do this off camera because how many times are you going to watch people rip wood? Got the basic parts here. Back, cut to the width, which is 4.5. The sides, which are 3.5, and they're going to be mounted like so. All right, and can you see that? And the front, which will mount like right about there, like that. And the drawer, of course, will go in here. Now the front is going to be inlet into the sides so that this side here is flush with this. So when the drawer goes in, it fits better. I could do the drawer just as a 1/2-inch piece of wood that just sits flush with this, but I think I want to do the inletting. And the way the decoration is to go, it's kind of like a waterfall. So it comes down from here over to this side, then this side comes down like this, and then this goes to a cutout here. So it kind of waterfalls down, if you remember the picture I showed you of the other one. So this is where I'm at right now. What I need to do now is mark it all up for more cuts possibly, and then start designing the patterns for the top, sides, and front. Make sure I get everything where I want it to be. Of course, the bottom goes on, and then there's going to be an interpiece in here for the bottom of this container here. And the reason I made it a little bit shorter is because the clay pipes that I'm going to be getting are about 7 inches long. So I want them to be, the tops to be seen when it's when they're sticking in here. So let's do some marking up, and we'll take it from there. All right, I've marked it now, so I know where these parts are going to go and what they're going to look like. This is going to be a butt joint up against the back, and this would be a butt joint on the front, so you don't see end grain really on the front. You just see the front of it like so. This is this side, and this is this side. The drawer is going to be about, it's going to be the depth of it, of course, and it's going to be about 2.5 inches wide, small drawer, and it will be about 2.5 inches deep. So this is a small one, going to be a nice small one. It'll sit on the fireplace at the building I want to give this to. So now I want to do some more cutting and shaping, and then we have to decide what kind of designs to put on the top, the sides, and the front. I cut out the inlet, which is where the top is going to be inlet into the box, and I've got a diagonal line from where the front stops to the corner here, and that's just a reference line of whatever design I draw on here is got to start there and end here, because that's where the front ends. Same thing on the back. I've got a reference line. It's just a triangle. Oops, making all kinds of noise. That's just a reference line that shows where the design that comes off from here to here has to end there, and then this is going to come down along this line here, and then I'll kind of make it up when I get to the front, put the front in here. One of the things I have to do is put the 1/4-inch blade or so smaller in the bandsaw so I can do some scroll cutting, or I could pull out the scroll saw. The way I did this, by the way, was I marked the depth correctly for the table saw. I made a tall blade run out to here. It stopped at a line that I set. Then I cut the rest of it out with my Dozoki saw and then trimmed it with the chisel. And it's a real simple process. It just, there's the pieces that came out. So now this matches that perfectly, just like that. And the reason I didn't say this before, the reason I'm doing this is because I want the drawer to be an overlay drawer with a either an OG or a roundover or a step roundover on the front. So that's why I'm doing it that way. Yeah, I changed the ISO on the camera so you can actually see this. I know this looks like a mess, but I think you can make out the design I've come up with in camera. So this is where the hole's going to be, and you got curve up here, little shoulders over here, and then this little thingy here, and it goes down like that. And the front will intersect right there. Excuse me, the side. Excuse me. The side will intersect right there. And I will now take this and do the side. I've basically done one. I'm not sure I want to do it with that particular style, but it looks like it might work out. I mean, it's got to be a fall away from here. It's got to fall down and away from here. So that's kind of what I have in mind there. And of course, like I said, the front will be decided upon once I get the rest of the stuff done. Now this gets cut out and smooth, and then I just duplicate it on this. It just makes life a lot easier. So let me change bandsaw blades. You get partially through a project and you look at what you're doing, you decide, that's not quite what it doesn't feel right. Something doesn't feel right. Well, that happened with this. Now, I was going to build it out a 1/2-inch thick stock, and as I started working on it, assembling it dry, it just didn't feel right. So what I did is I took some of the stock and I milled it down to 3/8. Makes the whole item a little bit lighter. Not so much weight-wise, but visually it looks a little lighter. Doesn't look as clunky. So that's what I've done. Now I am back at the point where the last segment ended, where I have got the pieces for the major pieces cut out, and they're ready for cutout and assembly. But I still haven't changed a bandsaw blade because guess what? I got to go get a 1/4-inch bandsaw blade. I don't have one. Yeah, there's a video on my channel here about buying bandsaw blades off of Amazon that say they're Timberwolf. Link in the description. But yeah, careful. Let me show you what I'm talking about here. And here's the new parts in 3/8 of an inch, which gives it a little, like I said, a little visual lightness to it. By the way, I think I figured out what this stuff is. I think it's sugar pine. So I've drawn the designs on for cutting out on the bandsaw when I get the blade. And I'll just do a quick dry fit here. So there's the back. The drawer is going to go here. It's going to hang from there. And here's one side, and here's the other side. And of course the front just fits right here. And if you can see it in camera, I've got this decorative cuts here, which waterfall into these decorative cuts here, which then waterfall into these decorative cuts here. What I plan to do is to put the sides on after I got it all cut out, sanded, put in the divider, then put the front on. And from there, we can work on the drawer and the bottom, because the bottom is going to be overhung. It's going to be an overlay bottom. It's going to be maybe a 1/4 of an inch overhang with a treatment on the edges, and the drawer will sit here as an overlay drawer front, and it'll have a decorative edge as well. Cutting dovetails, tiny little dovetails. I might do a dovetail. I might do a butt joints. A lot of these I've seen have the drawer sides nailed into the drawer front and the drawer back. And I've got those period nails that I can use if I want to do it that way. That will be decided down the road. So now I go get the bandsaw blade, and now I cut out the shapes. of course, what you just saw was me changing the blade in the bandsaw. I finally got the 1/4" blade I need. I showed the Timberwolf package in that time lapse, but they're not a sponsor. I just like Timberwolf blades, and of course, there's a video on my channel, link in the description, on why you don't buy Timberwolf blades from Amazon. Just don't. Now, I don't know if you caught it, but I had my phone out, and I was plucking at the plucking at the blade with my phone out. I've got this app. It's available in the App Store, and it's called Bandsaw Tensioning. I'll get that. I don't know if you can see that in the screen. And you put in your parameters, the width of the blade, manufacturer. It's got 3 manufacturers in there now. What you're cutting. Let's see, parameters. Manufacturer, wheel diameter, carbide tip, yes or no, material wood, cut straight, blade width. This is a 1/4" blade, so I did that, and it sets your tension. It gives you a little, like a metronome that goes back and forth, and you pluck the string when the little ball gets into a colored portion on the bottom of the screen, and then it stops, and it tells you if it's too tight or too loose. And this is one of the times that I lucked out, and I got it right in the middle of the metronome. So now I've got to cut out the parts so we can start cleaning them up and do some assembly. It's going to be assembled in stages. And with that little flurry of activity, the major parts of the pipe box are ready for partial assembly. There's the back, there's the front, and the 2 sides. And as I demonstrated earlier, it goes together kind of like this. Voila. See, box. In the interest of brevity, or keeping my videos a little shorter, we're bumping up against 17 or 18 minutes right now on this one. So, with that said, we'll end this episode here. The next episode, we will assemble these parts of the box to their pretty much finished state, and then build the drawer for the tobacco that goes in the bottom. So until then, make great things out of wood, and I don't know, just some 18th century stuff.